Hey, good morning, my peoples. Grand salutations, Stephen Godfrey, P.V.P. I just wanted to come on this morning on this grand and share a little bit about advocacy because I think it's important and I'm going to put it in context to some local history. And I'm going to try to do this in short order because yours truly are meeting with developers this morning as a check-in report card as part of one of my roles serving the city. So hear that advocates, depending on the need, take many different forms. And the responsibility of advocates is usually to make sure that those that are disconnected to influence and power and don't have a voice, essentially, and make sure that whatever the disparity is, that is addressed meaningful ways, short term, long term, and compromise is all part of the formula. And so I wanted to come on and share a little bit because, here that I, over the years, have traveled, go to different states, looking at different needs, and have done a lot in the city in different parts of communities. And I wanted to make clarity points of what I call tone of advocates. Because depending on the needs, and Saul Alinsky said it well, advocates' voices are fierce depending on the forum. And I agree with that. And what I mean by that, and I'll use one of our great legal mind, former state senator, Diane Wilkerson, who had, and now Liz Miranda is the sitting senator and doing a great job, right? Hear that Diane, who I've known for years, championed suing the city for the Northeastern Land War, saw Diane as a community organizer sitting on the Hill by herself with two other advocates, the Honorable Val Hyman and Pat Cusick, and challenging the boys, right? And she's doing it and she was moving fierce then, as well as she moves fierce now. Now, get it that organizing for someone like Diane, or at that time, it was really for the South End Lower Roxbury Housing and Planning Coalition, which is all the executive directors from Lower Roxbury to South End and all the tenant task force groups, right? And hear that, depending on the forum and in those conversations, Diane's voice takes a different tone, right? And it's almost like writing a letter. Understand who's the audience. As Mel King would say, understand the intention and then act accordingly, right? And so I got a chance earlier on because I was an up-and-coming organizer. The South End Neighborhood Action Program under ABCD hired me as an organizer, and then the assistant director and the Episcopalian Foundation funded my learning. And in that, I had to deliberate of dynamics that I saw, benefits, and areas of growth, right? And so I had to learn that Diane takes, again, not looking at the legal part of her mind, which is great, right? But her tone, depending on who she's talking to, their capacity, she had to change her vernacular all the time. And tone is a part of that, right? And then I ain't going to add that when you take that disposition in Massachusetts as someone of color, it tends to be looked at as what I call aggressive first. People don't hear the tone. And I think you got to change all of that with Latinos, right? Because we're passionate folks in the spirit that will express it. But if you feel us, hear us, and I would say this is true about Diane and her advocacy. And if you don't really understand where she's going in terms of beginning, middle, and end of her statements, you can feel that she's not malicious at all. And I won't digress and go into, stuff that we heard through the campaign and all that other stuff, right? But I think it's important. So let's fast forward in this thing called tone, advocacy, roles, diversity, because in Diane's case, and going back to their district of her and Liz Moran, they talked to folks from Fenway to Roxbury. You see where energy goes because that is the areas of the district that need it the most, right? Those are the areas that the tone may be different, talking to policymakers and decision makers and advocates and community. And folks have to know that. Then there's times where there's a diversity of us sitting around the table from different community groups, etc. Sometimes advocates move through those tones so that, in fact, people truly understand. But the point with Diane is that she loves everybody, right? And that nothing's personal, But as she used to always say, and all the advocates that I served under, Gloria Fox, Mel King, Byron Russian, just a whole host, Father Butch Gamada, I mean, there's just a whole host of them, would express, again, love, right? But being clear that this is, I'm advocating for the folks, right? And if you're advocating for the folks, you can't change tone. Get it that in real work of advocacy, it's less about satisfying the infrastructure. Yes, you are a liaison. You communicate between, but you're compromising the integrity of the work in your advocacy to satisfy the power base, right? You are facilitating that information, hopefully taking it back, building that group, like what I call the Harriet Tubman movement, right? So let's go into modern times. Shattuck Hospital, which, as everyone knows, was halted in 2024, going into 25, I believe. If my dates serve me well. Hear that Diane brought I in as CEO, and one of the chiefs of housing development, one of the oldest housing developments, Quincy Geneva Housing Corporation, which is the sole CDC that serves 180% of poverty in 2025. But we own a lot of real estate, commercial. So, and we're true to advocacy. And obviously Diane knew me. And so say we all started to engage, became a larger coalition. And as I mentioned earlier, there was a lot of mixed blends of communities that came together because there was more, but there's 18 communities, but there was, I think at the table, 5 to 6 predominant communities that were engaged. And I saw in her tone, right? Because Diane, in this capacity, was advocating on behalf of Roxbury. Came in steadfast that she should, and I knew what tone that was. I was ready. I had my popcorn because she's good at what she does, and there's enough disparity in Roxbury that, truth be told, she shouldn't have to make certain arguments, but she's very good to build it, give you context, and then deliver her statements, right? And clearly Roslindale and a bunch of others, and some people, Diane because of her history and stuff. And, and as an organizer, you work in the room, you're smelling it, people know you, and then people question tone. And I knew this. So as a advocate, in the immediate, when people raise it, hey, you acknowledge that, hey, guess what? Hard fight. Roxbury shouldn't be slapped on the, in the face with respect to what's being proposed. And the advocate is pushing it in a way that just represents Roxbury. When City Councilor Tanya Fernandez engaged, same thing, right? It's less about the tone if you really understand the intentions. And both ladies, particularly Councilor and Diane, very, very clear. So I pulled Diane to the side one day in our deliberations, and I felt like it was opportunity time to give her flowers because of that level of diversity, that ability to intertwine her vernacular in between different communities. It's dope. And it's a skill that is missed because what she has always done is shown the district that irregardless of who she is, she's going to make you feel comfortable, represent you well, represent you fearlessly. And she's a great example as a legislator, attorney, but human being when it came to representing that level of diversity. In the Shattuck Hospital, sharing that stuff with folks, talking to Diane, and then giving her flowers just to say her ability to do so is, again, a craft that is expiring, if you will, or becoming extinct. So I say that to say we should take from that, right? And utilize that as much as we can in our daily practice. But I also think equally important for Massachusetts in the Northeast states is to, and particularly this is for us in Mass, is when we're with you as advocates, we're with you. And get it that when we speak truth, that truth may hurt, but it's not to you because we love you. But we should not ever tone down in the spirit of a Puritan of service. We should never tone down our advocacy for people's comfortability. Understand that tone, and to get it that this guy right here who's uh, black, raised with a Puerto Rican family, right? And understand that I got the blend of both worlds and I'm extremely passionate, but you got to feel, understand the intentions, understand that tone is one part of it, dissect, listen to it, understand the person. But at the end of the day, if it's right, it's right. And if it's to the betterment of mankind, continue to push advocates. Have a blessed day, y'all. I just wanted to give a little context of advocates. Enjoy your weekend.